We're on air.
Okay. We good? Okay. Let's go ahead and begin the meeting. Roll call, please.
Trustee Kwong,
Here.
Trustee Wu,
Here.
Trustee Chin Lau, Student Trustee Dershine. Here.
Okay. Any public comments on non-agenda items? Very good. Approval of the minutes. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Okay, anyone second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Good. Opposed? Very good. Motion carries. Okay. So we're here tonight. We are looking at 6 items, some administrative procedures and some board bylaws, and we have some proposed amendments. So let's go ahead and take them one at a time. The first one is the administrative procedure 2320. It deals with special and emergency meetings under the Brown Act. And so the proposed amendment in this one really deals with how you notify public media about any special meetings. And the revision in this section is to be able to notify them by email. So that is one change that is being made. Okay. Any opinions, theories, comments on that one? No? We're all good with that?
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay, that's pursuant to some of the revisions in the Brown Act. All right, do we have a motion?
Motion to pass with the changes.
Very good. Second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. All right. AP 2320 with the revisions will pass. All righty. Okay, this next section is Board Bylaw 2320. It deals with the permissible topics by which a board, a Brown Act board, can have closed session discussions. And there is a list of items in which you can have closed session discussions. But about 2 years ago, the Brown Act was amended to add an additional category for closed session items. So the additional category that was added are things that deal with cybersecurity threats. And I think the rationale is if we are dealing with the cybersecurity threats, it's probably something that we should be discussing in closed session and not in open session where the tortfeasor person, the entity that is attacking our hardware is now open to the public. And so this amendment to this board policy, if you look on the second page, is to add that additional category to allow the board to confidentially discuss our cyber security risks, and that is pursuant to AB 2715. Okay, any comments on that?
Makes sense.
Make sense? Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right, okay, do we have a motion to pass with amendments?
So moved.
All right, any second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I think Crystal's prediction is... Okay, motion carries with Board Bylaw 2315 with changes. This next section deals with Board Bylaw 2432. It does deal with when a superintendent can appoint an interim superintendent. And the one change here is that when the superintendent appoints an acting superintendent, that acting person cannot exceed 60 days, but if the person is serving in an acting capacity for more than 2 days, they need to notify the president. I just have one comment on this board bylaw, but I'd like to open it up to the rest of my colleagues.
Yeah, I was just wondering, like, why this change is happening? What does it need to be 68?
Well, what's interesting is it references the education code, and so I think it's probably seeking clarification from the ed code. I didn't get a chance to look at this ed code, but I'm assuming that there are the ed code mandates that when the superintendent appoints an acting superintendent, it's only for a maximum period of time. You can't be, appoint you for 1 year. That's what I'm assuming that the ed code is dictating. But I'd like Ms. Colross.
And so, we can choose any amount of time to
Mhm.
put that in, and I checked other colleges. The problem for us is that at this point, we have conflicting language, because we said the president could appoint someone for not to exceed 90 days, but the board had to do it after 30 days. That's conflicting. So what I just did is put them in unison, so it's the superintendent president can appoint one for up to 60 days. If it exceeds 60 days, then the board has to appoint someone.
And I noticed that you compromised
Mid-end
at
note.
60.
Yes, that's
So I think 2 months is reasonable.
I think it was a fair one.
I just have one comment, so anything else, Trustee Liu? So do we have a position called Assistant Superintendent Vice President Academic Affairs? Would that be the instructional?
That's
superintendent?
instruction, yeah.
There's another title for that, isn't there? Isn't it like instructional services?
no, that's okay. We
Who's
call
in
it
that
all
position?
sorts of fun things.
We call it all sorts of fun things, yes.
Um,
I personally prefer academic affairs, but I hear instruction all the time.
What's on the job description? Or actually, not a good metric. What's coded in your system as to the official title into
I believe it's academic affairs.
academic affairs?
Because she does cover other areas as well.
This is Dr. Ramirez, right?
Correct.
It's funny, I hear the word instructional services constantly. This is the first time I've heard academic affairs.
The word instruction is, I think, a term from the K through 12 sort of world, and academic affairs is a term from the higher education world, and I think depending on where you are, they have different ways of describing it, but I hear it presented in different ways. I actually hear instruction much more than I hear academic affairs, actually.
I've even seen it in writing.
Yeah.
Can you just
You want us to double check?
confirm and just check with Mr. Krasinski and just have him check the system, check the job description, and it says academic affairs, or this is fine. Okay, all right. So, any comment, any further comments on that one? Okay, do we have a motion to approve the amendments?
Motion to approve with amendments.
All right, any second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Very good. Motion carries with amendments. This next one is a pretty generic board bylaw. It basically, under the government code, it basically says that certain public entities, when they have funds, they are to, the government code uses the language that you should be a reasonably prudent investor of these public coffers. And so this board bylaw, there isn't a lot of substance to it. It kind of reflects the government code, and the last time it was considered and reviewed by the board, it looks like it's in October 2013, and so it's sometimes right for the board to just review it again. I looked at the government code, and the language in here, it doesn't quote the code, but it basically sums up what our obligations are to be very prudent and reasonable with how we invest our funds. Any questions, comments on that one?
Thank you, Trustee Paul. The one question is, we're not adding anything or revising anything in this, correct? Or are we adding?
We're not
Got
doing
it.
anything.
Just, I have the question because the text wasn't bold, but got it. Makes sense.
Yes.
We have to review all of our
Yeah,
policies periodically.
yeah, that makes sense.
We could mirror the actual statutory language, but at some point it gets so technical that nobody understands it.
No, this is
So
great.
this is a very good lay summation.
Got it. Yeah, I was just curious because I saw the bold and the text in bold, wasn't sure about implementation, but.
I didn't even know our funds were invested in real estate.
They're invested in the LACO, right? The treasurer's pool.
Oh, it's not invested in the market.
Well, it's invested with the local area investment fund, is that what it is, LAIF?
Oh, I see it, local agency.
Yeah.
But it says you have an option, you can either go to the LA County Treasurer's Pool, which is LACO, or
It's-
the local agency investment
It's,
fund.
it's basically a very low interest sort of money fund.
It says investments other than those two funds require prior approval of the trustees, so we have to go to market first. Okay. It's interesting, the language says we're supposed to review this policy every 3 years, so we're a little late.
Sorry.
Does the statute require us to review it every 3 years?
No, it doesn't, every 6 is
Oh.
what we try to do it.
Maybe we should change that, so at least we're
We're
consistent.
just a little behind.
Maybe leap years?
Yeah.
Should we just change
But
it
we weren't
to,
changing any of the language, so if we were, I would have brought it sooner, but the language is still the same.
should we change it to every, periodically according to law? So that gives you some flexibility.
That's actually in a different board bylaw.
What's that?
That's in a different board bylaw?
I'm just saying, this sentence says that this particular bylaw needs to be reviewed every 3 years, and it's been about 20 years. So,
Then that's actually must be the language for this one.
Quick question, does date revised, is that different than date reviewed though? Because it could have been reviewed but not revised, and this
Correct.
date got it.
That was the date it was last revised.
But the date that it was last reviewed was 2022 presumably?
I could check.
Okay.
I'll look and see.
could you check on that?
I will.
Should we kind of, a motion to approve contingent upon some research as to what the law requires as to how often we review this by law? And we can, whatever that number is, if it's 3, it stays 3, if it's not 3, we'll insert the right number.
Okay, I'll check.
And I'll check too, I'll go back and look at this.
It's almost like, I guess if you wanted to be a little bit more aggressive, right? If there's no more conservative policy than just having, I guess you could have just cash, right? Which
Oh.
is pretty close.
The investment is not the issue. The issue is I want to make sure that if we're required to review something in a certain number of years, that we actually get it on a cycle. That's all it is. So that we don't miss a cycle.
Sure, that's okay with me. So, I move to approve board policy 6320 contingent on looking at the date of the review policy.
Okay. And then Ms. Colrose might amend it accordingly. Okay? Do I have a second? Very good. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Very good. That motion carries. Okay. This next one is, this is board bylaw 7126. This is basically a policy on background checks. And they basically added some additional information that allows the district, when doing background checks, that they can actually not only do reference checks, but they can also do live scan, which is this program, I think, with the state where they check to see if you have a criminal history, which the education code requires all of us, not us, but employees to undergo. So that appears to be the amendment there. So it removes some language about having to investigate an applicant if they were terminated for cause from another district. So you don't have to go and spend the time researching whether or not the circumstances where the applicant was terminated with cause from another employer. So it removes that section. So it becomes a more generic background check.
Thank you, Trustee Kwong. One question, what was the logic initially for including that clause? And now, I'm assuming we're omitting it partly to align with the language that other districts use, but there's also that permissive may include, so the district could, right, if they wanted to.
Well, I think two things. I think when you're doing a background check on an applicant, you do want to have some discretion as to what you're checking depending on the position. So some positions, you might not need to check references, like if it's a new applicant, it's like a employment. The second is, this revision is basically aligning with, I believe, human resources current practices and what they're doing. And so we are conforming to what the district's current practices are, as opposed to a policy where their practices are not consistent. So that's what this is.
Understood.
And then also, are you, so we're scratching off including for investigation for prior termination for calls, and then you're replacing it with LiveScan, because that's what LiveScan does.
Could you repeat that one more time?
So is the reason why we're taking out including for investigation because LiveScan does the exact same thing? So it's
No,
just-
LiveScan does a criminal background check to look for certain felonies that the Ed Code makes as automatic disqualifying for educational employment. So there are certain felonies where you are automatically disqualified. So LiveScan is the criminal background check. So it's not replacing it, it is adding it because the district is currently using LiveScan. The thing that they're excluding, that they're crossing out, is this section about investigating prior employment. HR is not doing that. So if they find out that somebody was terminated for cause, they were not contacting the previous district to determine the circumstances. And in fact, the district might not even tell you, but for privacy reasons, why a particular employee was terminated for privacy rights. So it doesn't make sense to actually spend the time to go into that inquiry, because you're not going to get anything. You need to get it released.
I see.
So I just have a couple of comments on this. I noticed that there are a lot of citations to the statute, and I think some of these citations are not applicable. So there's not a lot, by the way, but I just wanted to bring out Civil Code 47 does not relate to background checks, it relates to defamation claims. And then the Labor Code section 430 to 435 deals with contracts of employment. And my recommendation is that we delete the reference to Civil Code 47 and the reference to Labor Code section 430 to 435, because if you go and look at it, it has nothing to do with background checks. But I'm open to discussion on that.
4235 is about employment and consumer credit reports, so it restricts the use of credit checks in
No,
employment
47.
decisions. So the one you want to get rid of is which one?
Civil Code 47.
Civil Code, which is privileged communication, provides employer protections when sharing information about employee misconduct or performance if made without malice.
That's
So
right.
I think this has a little bit to do with when we did a prior employment check. They're only really required to give us the dates of employment.
Right. So Civil Code 47 is a privilege against defamation for prior employers that give a reference check. But to me, it has nothing to do with a background check of the hiring district.
Well, one of the things this does say is that it also applies to current employees who apply for different positions or promotions within the district. So we could be the prior employee.
Right.
But it's up to you. I'm just thinking that's why they put it in there.
Yeah.
It's your call.
The question is, do you find it necessary? No, actually the better question is it helpful to the user? So somebody reading this policy, does reference to that section help them in some way?
No. It's just us covering our bases.
Okay.
I don't have any strong particular feelings about this. I can see the logic for why it would be omitted. if it's from the perspective of us as employers and us as an employer giving a reference to a former employee versus this is someone applying for a job here, I think I'm okay either way.
Okay.
Yeah, and if you're doing it to clear one.
Okay.
Yeah.
My thought on this is, for anybody that is checking to see what the authority is to support this policy, that civil code does not provide guidance on this policy. What it does is, that civil code might educate somebody on what to do if they're interested in providing a reference check, but it doesn't show the reader what the statutory authority is that gives rise to this policy. And to me, when you're looking at a policy, the writer is basically informing the reader that this is the authority that I'm basing it on that results in this policy. What the Civil Code 47 does is, it might educate the reader as to the whole concept of reference checks and the privileges that apply. So I guess the question is, do we want to be very holistic in educating people as to how reference checks work and what the defenses are, or do we want to limit it to, here is the authority that supports this policy? I think that's a really good issue. It sounds like you're not convinced.
I think for this, I still could go either way. I don't think I have an immediate strong gut reaction to omitting it or including. If I was going back in time and drafting it initially, I probably wouldn't include it. But assuming it's been here since at least 2012,
Yes.
it's kind of from my perspective, no harm either way.
I agree. If I was drafting it, I would not include that. I might include the government code sections and the penal code, but I wouldn't think in my mind I should include that to help the reader inform them, this is why I'm writing it. It's because of the civil code I am writing this. So it would not justify it. It's just for educational purposes. So what do you think? Do we want to be more holistic?
My preference would be, I think it's been here for a while. I think it's okay just passing it as is. But if my colleagues feel strongly about moving it, I would be okay moving it as well.
Okay.
And I think keeping it pretty beneficial to prevent like conflict or misunderstanding or anything like that. You know, in the future, anyone like doesn't understand, there's no harm in having it there. I think.
Okay. All right. We'll keep it in. Labor Code 430 to 435, that deals with contracts of employment. I don't find that is relevant. Actually, that's more removed than Section 47.
So 430 to 435, which covers employment and consumer credit reports, restricts use of credit checks in employment decisions. Employers must provide advance written notice, use credit information only for job-related reasons, obtain separate written authorization, prohibits requiring applicants to obtain their own credit report.
I don't think so. I think Labor Code Section 430 to 435 deals with contracts of employment, the authority to get a copy of documents that were signed. So, you want to take a look?
Yeah, I mean, I looked it up, but that's what it gave me, it was, but I'm happy to look it up again.
Okay, let's look it up again.
And I wonder, part of it, maybe there was a change in the labor code section numbering since this was first drafted and
Could
approved.
very well be.
And in that case, that would need to be updated.
Okay. You want to double check that?
Of course.
Okay, so, yeah, all right. So Ms. Culverhouse is going to double check that. And if it relates to background checks, I'd say, it doesn't hurt. It may not be helpful, but it also doesn't hurt. But then if it's not helpful, it's kind of superfluous too. But if it's in some way provides some guidance for the reader, we might as well put it in there just for the sake of allowing people opportunities to check all the resources. Okay, so Ms. Colas will check that. You want to make a motion with that condition?
to us with that change or
With that condition.
with that condition.
Okay, all right. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, opposed, none, all right. Motion conditional motion to carry with, that one verification. All right. Okay. The last one is board policy 7140. It's a little meaty, but I will just kind of summarize it. What it basically says is for purposes of collective bargaining, when a collective bargaining unit enters into a collective bargaining agreement, whatever the provisions are in the CBA, if it conflicts with the board policy under the EERA, the provisions of the collective bargaining provision will always prevail because the EERA will trump our board policy. So it looks like that is the revision, and it's to clarify that the CBA will always be controlling, but only for those employees that are in that collective bargaining unit. If there are employees outside of the unit, they need to comply with all of our board policies, so that's the provision.
Just one question. I know for Faculty Senate, it's being changed to Academic Senate. Is that just aligning to what the correct term is now? And is that change going to be reflected in the rest of our board policies in case there's any?
It doesn't show up very often, but yes,
Okay.
I think it has been corrected in most places.
Okay, got it.
This is another one that hasn't been looked at in a while.
Got it.
And then question, why remove this last sentence in the first one?
Are you referring to the last sentence?
Yeah, see policy number 2000.
Did you show
Because
me?
it doesn't exist anymore.
Oh, because it doesn't exist.
What did you say?
The end of subsection 1A, that the reference to policy number 2000.
Oh, okay, I see. What was Ms. Cole-Ross's explanation?
Doesn't exist.
It doesn't.
Oh, it doesn't exist anymore. Okay, that's a good reason. Okay, all right. Any comments or questions on that?
No.
Okay, do we have a motion?
So moved.
So moved. Any second?
Second.
Very good. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? None, all right. Board policy 7140 is passed with revisions. Okay, all right. Section C, the meeting schedule, I suggest that we table until the next season for next year. Okay, all right. And if you're on the committee again, any suggestions for future agenda items? I am curious, with respect to the board policy 7126, well, actually, both of them, board policy 6320, last revised October 13th, and the other one, employee clearance, that was revised 2012. I'm assuming that it wasn't looked at. I'm assuming I know it might be a wrong assumption, right? It may have been, but how do you calendar?
Well,
Do you
I
have a roulette
calendar.
wheel?
But I don't rewrite these, so I have to send them out to people who do work on them, and it's challenging to get them.
Do you have like
Yes, I have a cycle,
you have a cycle and they
Mhm.
kind of pop up?
and then I figure out which area the college should work on them, and I send them off to
I
them,
see.
and I nudge them,
Uh-huh,
and I hope for responses.
I see. And then, of course, the Sacramento, I assume that Brown Act, they also just publish proposed amendments just based on changes in the law.
I actually get 2 updates every year from CCLC that tell me all of the changes that I
see.
made, and I
Okay.
review those.
Right.
Some of them are just little things, or just like a little language or a title change, and I don't worry about those. Or a reference to a labor code or ed code or something that's changed, so I'll update those. But if it's big changes, like the cybersecurity, those then I bring forward, because that needs to go to the full board.
That's right. Okay, very good, thank you. Okay. All right,